Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to say that spec trading is brutal. Now, if I had my time all over again, I wouldn't dabble in microcap trading if I was just starting out. It's extremely difficult. There is like a criteria of 20 things that need to go right for a day trade to be worth trading and to put size onto a good trade. Now, it's hard to find those really A+ setups. And a lot of the time, what you're met with, particularly outside of the month of April, is stocks that will gap up and puke. And then what you end up with is the stock moving again and getting caught in basically a trap of supply, right? Supply from this day with high volumes, and no matter what the news is, it can be extremely difficult to break out. And average news just isn't sufficient to break out of high volumes. So that's just one aspect, is historical trading or historical volumes. Another element is, let's say, shares on issue, right? If it's too low, the order book's going to be gappy and spready. If it's too high, the stock's going to open up and gap down on open and then trickle its way back up over maybe 4 ticks for the day and then trade for several days till it reaches its potential. Then you have market cap, right? Then you need to understand, well, is the market cap too high relative to the news? You know, if you've got really, really good news, but what's the market cap potential of that news, right? If you've got a $50 million stock, but the market cap potential of a certain news announcement is like 30, 40 mil, does the stock even sell off? Does it even do anything? So you've got to understand that as well. And then there's elements within the announcement that you need to understand as well, right? You can't just rely on trading and price action that occurs on the day. You need to understand things like, what about a biomed news announcement? What's the sensitivity and specificity of a particular a drug or trial result that's come out? What about a mining announcement? What is the width, the depth, the thickness, and how shallow is the intercept, right? And how does that translate to market capitalization? So it's these things, and also there's like 20 different minerals you need to understand. Lithium versus gold, and of course the rock types. What about lithium brine versus lithium hard rock, right? So you've got to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. There's so many layers. Whereas you trade an announcement, a financial announcement on the ASX for a mid-cap, for example, you just simply trade momentum. You just trade the technicals and find a stock with an announcement that'll have high liquidity. And I think that's relatively simple to find. You know, you got a catalyst news announcement that comes out, a takeover offer or a non-binding one, and you know, there are certain things that are just really obvious to trade, and you just trade the price action. But with micro caps, trading price action is extremely difficult unless it has high liquidity. So there's a lot of factors behind a micro cap trade in order to be successful on that trade. If I had my time all over again, I just simply wouldn't touch micros, at least not so early into trading. Right? Back in the day, I didn't know any better. I don't think many people did know any better. You know, 2015, 2016, no one was trading with leverage. Everyone was trading with Combank or CMC or NAB trade. Even the guys I was trading with that have 20, 30 years experience, they're all using ComSec or NAB trade. But mind you, they weren't really day trading. But all the day traders I talk to, they're all using these platforms with relatively high commissions. I didn't know about FP Markets or Invast or anything like that. I didn't even know they existed, let alone heard anyone talk about them. So trading with leverage was kind of not an option for me when I first started, and I'm actually quite grateful for that as well, because I think that's what really kept me in the game. And so I didn't want to trade my capital, which was maybe about $20,000 when I first started, and I didn't want to trade that and buy a $50 stock that moved 2.5% for the day and then pay $50 to $60 in brokerage. But if I paid $50 to $60 in brokerage on a stock that went from 5 cents to 10 cents and I put $5,000 on, yeah, I'll pay that brokerage for a $5,000 move. It's like, sweet. That was the allure. That was the appeal. And back in the day, most people, I think, just didn't know any better. Hot copper wasn't a helpful community. Back in the day, there was no community really. Everyone was out for themselves on hot copper. I tried changing that back in the 2018, 2019-ish. And the thanks that I got for that was I got banned from Hot Copper for posting helpful YouTube videos. So yeah, it's not a community that is helpful. There was no Discord community back in the day. So, we've got the largest Discord community, 3,000 people, hundreds and hundreds of active day traders every day logging in. If you have a question, they'll answer it. They'll tell you. If you ask, what brokers are you guys using, they'll tell you what they're using. If, there's an announcement or a stock that's failed, let's say it gapped up and failed, and you can just ask, why did that happen? And you'll get an intelligent response from someone. So people are helpful in that community. There was nothing like that back in the day. So it was really just navigating on my own. I went through every pitfall for a micro cap that there was. So I learned every mistake that there was to make. And there probably still is more as I keep trading. And I just got to figure out what they are. But the point is that micro cap just has so many layers to a successful trade that it's basically like starting on 6th gear in a car, right? It's extremely difficult. And I wouldn't start with that if I had my time again. There are no ASX courses like the one that I created. Right? Back in the day, there were no courses, at least not any ASX specific ones. So the course I made shows everything I know in the space of 3.5 hours. Shows everything I know. How to trade, or how I find my edge, how I interpret and news announcements, and where to find news announcements, just everything, the whole breadth of knowledge that I have condensed into about 3.5 hours. Nothing like that existed back then. I couldn't pay X amount of dollars and receive some sort of education for it. It just didn't exist back then. There was no YouTube, right? Even today, there isn't really much content on YouTube in terms of outside of my channel, but there's still content out there at least that other people, when they join, have an easier time of understanding how to day trade and how to understand and interpret micro caps and the pitfalls that exist there. So no, I wouldn't trade micro caps if I had my time again. It's extremely difficult. And here's an example of like the 20 different layers of micro cap trading that need, like just the criteria that needs to be met. Right, so we got SVY here. For whatever reason, it gapped and sold down on high volumes. Well, almost by default, this is impossible to trade the following day, unless it's got an absolute monstrous announcement, which it had an average one. An average doesn't cut it, because now we have this much volume traded, and I wonder how much of that is stuck here that wants to get out. So the stock's been trickling down. Here's your opportunity to break even from anyone that's around the lows. And high volumes, and it just fails. It's not tradable. So recent history is one aspect. Another aspect is shares on issue. Shares on issue, is it too high or too low? If it's too low, the market cap, the order book's going to be too gappy. It's going to be difficult to trade. If the shares on issue is too high, the stock's just simply not going to move. It's going to gap up, sell down, move 4 ticks, and then maybe take several days to reach full potential. And it's not going to do it really easily either. How about your understanding of market capitalization? Okay, so you saw a news announcement for a micro cap. So what? What market cap is it going to get to? Do you even know what it's going to get to? Do you know how it's going to get there? So understanding market cap relative to the news announcement is extremely difficult. It's something that just takes time. And just trading multiple announcements and really seeing what moves what and to what extent. What about if it's a mining result? What if it's rock chip versus air core drilling? What if the drilling is 500 meters deep versus 100 meters deep? What's the difference? How about lithium brine versus lithium hard rock? What's the difference? Which one's more valuable? Which one's more desirable? How about the grades? Is 5 grams a ton of gold good? Is 10, 15, 20? What's high grade? And how about the intercept thickness? Is 5 meters long enough? 15, 20? What's the minimum to really move a stock? How shallow does it need to be? So there's a whole bunch of questions. It layers on layer after layer. So if you understand one aspect, then you can dig deeper and deeper and deeper into that element, whether it's, let's say, like I said, shares on issue. What about high and low? Okay, And if you dig into that, well, what's too low, what's too high, and what's the impact on the market cap and the price action, right? There's a whole bunch of questions just for shares on issue, and that's one criteria that needs to be met. So there's just so much there that needs to be learned. How much cash is enough cash to hold overnight? Is $500,000 enough? What's their cash burn? Do you know where to find the cash burn rate of a company is? Do you know where that is? There's a whole plethora of questions about microcap trading that need to be answered in order to get a successful trade. Whereas a midcap, I can just trade the technicals. I can see an announcement and I don't have to understand it. That's the beauty of midcap trading, is I don't need to understand it. I just need to have enough awareness of an announcement, of a fundamental announcement, to go, will this move a stock? Yes or no? I don't need to know which way it goes. I just need to know, is this significant? For example, BHP, probably not BHP, let's say company XYZ has a mine closure. How significant is that? How many mines do they have? What's the market cap, right? If it's trading at like maybe 2 billion market cap, it's like, okay, it's high enough market cap that it'll get interest. There's a mine closure, so that's kind of significant maybe. Is it their maiden resource? Is it just one of their smaller mines? How many mines they have? And then just working out from there, it's just like, I don't know. Okay, well, that news generally never gaps up, so it's going to be a gap down. Okay, if it gaps down, how far is too far for this stock? It's, there are some really, really simple questions. And ultimately, it's just about trading the range, right? So for example, if a stock moves on a news catalyst, let's say it moves 25 cents, typically. And on a regular trading day, it moves 8 cents. You got some sort of range to work with. You know how far a stock can trade intraday. Within reason, of course. It can make new, larger ranges, but just general rule of thumb. With midcaps, you can go, right, I've got a range that I can work with, like a technical range. So let's say it opens up, moves down, breaks into higher highs, and you can just trade that higher high. It's really straightforward. Whereas something like MTH, as an example, I can show you guys that this stock met every criteria for a day trade for me, except one aspect, and that caused me to miss out on the larger move. Now, I did scalp this. I did make money on this, but here's an example of a comment that I made about this stock. I said that a true non-smeared 33 meter hit at 31 grams a ton would be 100 mil market cap easily. So this stock peaked at around 85 million market cap here at around 81.5 cents, somewhere about 84 mil market cap. So that was on the 20th of September, which was in the morning, and you can see at 10:38, just as market opened, maybe half hour after market opened. So my comment was that a true non-smeared 33 meter hit would really launch this stock. And this is what actually happened. You can see it did launch the stock. But my hesitation was this one aspect of the trade. So it met every criteria that I had, except for one thing. And that's the thing that I thought would turn this stock around. So you can see 33 meters at 31 grams a ton of gold. First of all, big hit, right? In terms of length, that's a big hit, 33 meters. 31 grams a ton is super high grade gold, super high grade. And it's from surface. So this is like gold standard stuff, right? This is A+. Like you rarely see this kind of stuff. So my expectation was that this would rally in the first maybe 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes or so, because it's just a nice announcement. But that it would also pull back sharp and just finish and just not really go to that 100 mil market cap range. And the reason is because if I scroll down, like I said, smeared, right? So drill hit 159. And if we look at around meter 20 to 21 and 21 to 22, we can see 455 grams a ton. I'll show you the table. So that's gold parts per million and silver parts per million. So really we're looking at this table here, 455 and 553. Normally when a company has a drill hit that's smeared, it's not necessarily a bad thing that a company does, because they need to report the whole drill hit, right? Doesn't matter what the hit is, there's a cutoff So they go, oh, we found gold throughout the drill core, but throughout the 33 meters. Out of that 33 meters, 31 meters was 1 gram a ton, if I recall correctly. 1 gram a ton. Not 30, not 20, not 10. 1 gram a ton. So 2 meters had 455 and 535 grams a ton, which is huge, right? That could probably be a nugget or something. I'm not quite sure, but that is super ultra high grade. But it's also in 2 meters, right? So one could say the drill core was smeared, right? So you got let's say you got a half 0.5 grams a ton cutoff out of that 33 meter hit. Yeah, they intercepted gold in every meter, right? That's not dodgy, right? But it doesn't change the fact that it's smeared, because when you average out throughout the whole drill core, throughout the whole 33 meters, it doesn't have an average of 20 to 30 grams a ton per meter or anything even remotely close. So the reality is, you could say that out of the 31 meters, there's only 1 gram a ton gold. And in 2 meters, you can see 495 grams a ton of gold average. So that's the smeared effect, right? Because within this 33, there is this 2 meter intercept, which, you know, it met all the criteria for me, but then it just flopped. No, sorry, it didn't flop. It rallied, but I was expecting it to flop because of that one aspect, which, you know, you typically see smearing at like half a meter, sometimes a meter. You typically don't see it across 2 meters, so that was a little bit unusual. I really didn't expect the market to rally on this, and it's unfortunate, right? You know, even after so many years of trading experience, I haven't seen anything quite like that announcement, and my interpretation of it was incorrect, right? So now I know what to do in the future. You know, 1 meter intercept of smearing, terrible. 2 meters, apparently the market just doesn't care. Market goes, yeah, good stuff. Whereas I'm left here going, what the fuck is this? But it is what it is. You know, you got stuff like LM8. You know, it's a little bit confusing, but you got a stock like this, which this doesn't happen very often. Doesn't happen very often at all. But it was a good news announcement, but the market cap was a little bit high. And you can see zero technical respect, right? So you've got a range break here. You've got VWAP absolutely getting just chopped up all day long. And then day 2, it trades perfectly. That's just sometimes the shit you have to deal with for a micro cap. Whereas for a mid cap, things are just a lot cleaner. You just trade a chart. Let's say Fortescue was a really good trader. We got just a daily chart. You know, there's the iron ore news, no, not the iron ore, but the stimulus news from China. Perfect. Iron ore stocks are just booming. They're moving. They're volatile. Bring up the 1 meter chart. And you go, cool. We have the $20 level here. Right, there's a $20 round number level. You've got a range that's developed. It's kind of chopping a little bit, you know, up and down below it. But the point is it's staying below VWAP, right? Tanks in the opening few minutes. It hits the 2-day VWAP, pulls back, dips below VWAP, retests it, stays under, dips, right? That candle there, it's like, bam, we have a short that's on. Add. Range break, absolutely sink, melt through the $20 level, right? Round number, big round number, $20, $10, $15, $25, melts down. Like, oh, okay, we start having higher highs, we start sort of seeing a recovery, and by that candle, you're like, well, time to cut it. So the technicals are just a lot cleaner, and the trading is just a lot more simple on mid caps. Just really straightforward technical trading. Provided that a company has either news or there's macro events to rely on for trading. So just really, really simple stuff. You know, what would take you 2 years to learn in micro cap and how to trade a micro cap, it'll probably take you like 3 months to learn how to trade a mid cap properly. So it's just a completely different environment. And if I had my time again, I certainly would not be trading micros, at least not early in my trading career. So I don't know. Guys, if you found any of that useful, please leave that a like. And holy shit, this is a 20-minute video. I did not expect that. Have a good night.